Thank you all for being here, and welcome to Matsura. My name is John Schwartz. I'm president of Matsura Machinery USA, and Matsura Machinery USA is a mouthful, so we always just refer to ourselves as MMU, and that's what I'll talk about today. We're very happy to have all of you, and before I introduce Ms. Lantry and then eventually Mayor Coleman, permit me a moment to talk about manufacturing in general. Very quick, I promise. We, MMU, have created a little bump in the economics, oops, I'm moving the podium around, of the city and the state here in the last 4.5 months since we opened our doors. Leading up to our grand opening, we spent $1.5 million to outfit this facility. Our first year payroll is about $2.7 million. We've hosted 67 international visitors to the city of St. Paul since we opened our doors. In just 4.5 months, we've accounted for a total of 688 total visitors to the city of St. Paul. About 350 of them, a few of you guys are here for a repeat visit today at our grand opening, Mayor, on May 14th. At that time, we were pleased to have Mayor Coleman speak and host our ribbon cutting ceremony that took place that day when the city and the Port Authority officially welcomed us to the community and we opened the doors for real. As I mentioned, 688 total visits. About half of those people come here by plane, so they rent cars, stay in our hotels, eat in our restaurants, and partake of our dining entertainment venues. In addition to all of that economic activity that we're taking credit for this morning, I'm also proud to report we've sold 23 machines. Got 2 orders yesterday. 23 machines, thank you. Total about $7 million worth of equipment. So we're off to the races, as it were. So in 4 short months, we made a small splash, in an otherwise gigantic economy. But as I started to say at the beginning, it's really not about Matsura per se, it's about manufacturing, and the good that happens from manufacturing. This could have been any one of dozens of other companies from around the country. They're fleeing Chicago, they're fleeing other high-tax, high-cost markets, and there's no reason they can't end up here. Manufacturing is good for St. Paul, it's good for Minnesota, but most of all, it's good for America. So, thank you. I know a number of you are influential, policymaker type people. I'm sorry, I don't know who you are, but I know that you're out there. And I just urge you, whenever possible, support business and specifically manufacturing business. So without further ado, please welcome City Council President Kathy Lantry to the podium.
Good afternoon. As John said, my name is Kathy Lantry. I'm president of the St. Paul City Council, and on behalf of my colleagues, I'd like to welcome you all to today's annual budget address. And we ask that you all please stand for the presentation of the colors by the St. Paul Police Color Guard and the Local 21 Color Guard. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Paul, word. detail. Pull. Dismiss.
Thank you. Despite all my years of doing this, waiting for them to walk out is a really long time, so thank you all for your cooperation. Today, we gather to hear the mayor's priorities for the 2014 budget. And although this process happens as a matter of code, the work of the budget never really ends. I'm sure if you ask any of the department heads, they would agree with this and know that the work of forging this document goes on all year long. What comes out of this process is a result of so many factors. In the past, we've talked about our partners at the state, both in terms of local government aid and general tax policy. This year, we've been granted a reprieve. Yay, clapping. Okay, from what has become, I know it's a really big deal. From what has become a common theme of devastating state cuts and little or no growth in local government aid. With a steadier budget to plan from, this year we are able to take a closer look at our existing resources for innovations and improvements on how we do business. But another factor are the ongoing conversations that occur between the public and the mayor, including the feedback during the 4 listening sessions held throughout the city. City council members, much to the mayor's chagrin, are also consistently making our priorities known to him, and the culmination of all of those factors contribute to where we are today. Over the next 4 months, the City Council will pore over the budget that is presented today. We will work as we have during the mayor's entire term in a cooperative and productive manner. Like all difficult things, when done well, we will make it look easy. We will also have the added dimension this year as we will begin the process with Councilmember Kalik, but welcome a new colleague during the middle of the process after the November 6th election. As we have already seen, Councilmember Kalik has shown his aptitude for this job, and I have no doubt that the voters of Ward 1 will choose his replacement wisely. We have worked hard these past 7 years to create structural balance in the city's finances, all while being cognizant of the cost to residents and to businesses. Those commitments will continue to guide us as we hear the mayor's presentation of the 2014 budget proposal. Mayor Coleman.
Good afternoon, everyone. Kathy, once again, thank you for your, I think, 7th introduction now at a budget address. It is always a pleasure to begin this process where we really do work cooperatively and well together. I don't know that we've agreed and worked cooperatively all through my 7.5 years as mayor, but for the most part we have done that. And I want to thank John and the people at Matsura for hosting us here today. It is really a remarkable company, and it's a remarkable building and a remarkable start to what I think is going to be a long and great story in the city of St. Paul. In addition to members of my family, including my son, who in 2 short weeks will move into his dorm at the University of Minnesota, I too want to welcome Councilmember Nathaniel Kalik to his first official budget address as a member of the St. Paul City Council. Many of you know Nick and have known him for years, whether you grew up together with him in the Rondo neighborhood, served with him as a firefighter, or worked alongside him on fighting for social justice. You know that Councilmember Kalik is a tireless advocate for the city of St. Paul, a lover of the city for all of its warts and everything, but is a great addition to the St. Paul City Council. So welcome. In 1883, Mark Twain wrote of St. Paul, "It's a wonderful city. It's put together in solid blocks of honest brick and stone and has the air of intending to stay." Not only has St. Paul stayed, but it has thrived through world wars, pandemics, depressions, and recessions. And as we emerge from years of significant economic challenges, those honest bricks and stone still stand strong. Some are being brought back to life, like the Pioneer Endicott Building or the Union Depot. These landmarks are being joined by new buildings, like the Penfield project that will host the Lund's grocery store. We also have new construction on the Lower Town Ballpark that is beginning in earnest. And amidst these old buildings and new buildings that are rising from the ground, there are old traditions like the Winter Carnival, Rondo Days, the St. Paul Bouncing Team. They're joined by new ones like the St. Paul Beer Dabbler, a personal favorite of mine, Red Bull Crashed Ice, of which I'm still recovering, and the Hmong Soccer Tournament, one of the great new additions to the host of events that we have in the city of St. Paul. The city has seen its ups and downs over the years since Twain wrote those words, but today we're in the midst of what I believe will be looked at as one of St. Paul's best times. With light rail run just months away from taking its first passengers down University Avenue, building permits are being pulled along the Central Corridor faster than we can count them. New housing is springing up at the Schmidt Brewery. The Hams Brewery is a new center for jobs on the east side. And construction of the ballpark, as I mentioned, is beginning in earnest. We're tackling some of our most difficult challenges. We've created innovative educational partnerships with the city, our school district led by Superintendent Silva, and all stakeholders across the city of St. Paul to effectively address and close the achievement gap. We're finding new and meaningful ways to close the economic gap that exists between the white community and communities of color, utilizing strategies like our EMS Academy or our most recent 32% minority workforce inclusion goals that we've set for projects like the regional ballpark. But mostly I believe that St. Paul is in the midst of its best days because we have done all of this through difficult times, but in a way that has put St. Paul on financially sound footing. It didn't happen by accident. It's a result of years of fiscal discipline. It happened by making fundamental changes to the way we do business and the way we budget. We put away one-time fixes to long-term problems. And we rebuilt the partnership between the state of Minnesota and local governments across the state. Finally, we made strategic decisions about how we can provide better service at a better price. The residents of St. Paul have made it very clear that they expect quality services from their city. But we've also been clear about the real cost of government. We've had to make tough choices. We've made difficult cuts, and taxes have been raised. But the decisions that we have made in the past have put us in a stronger position as we head into 2014 and beyond. Because of those decisions, I call this year the no drama budget year. But what it lacks in excitement, it makes up for with a new emphasis on innovation, which will make the choices we have implemented to date sustainable for years to come. This budget process, as Kathy mentioned, is a year-round process. It begins in earnest in late winter and continues until the budget is finally passed at near Christmas. It can be hard and complicated. It takes dedication, attention to detail, and oftentimes a little creativity to put together the final adopted budget. This hard work is led by an incredible team at our Office of Financial Services, including Director Todd Hurley, Budget Director Scott Cordes, and all of their staff, and I want to give them a special round of appreciation for the hard work that they do. While we put St. Paul on a sound financial footing over these last many years, continuing to maintain our AAA credit rating, many cities across America struggled tremendously. Some, like Detroit, declared bankruptcy. There were times in the past when it wasn't clear that St. Paul's trajectory wouldn't follow a similar path. In the 1980s, thousands of jobs were lost on the east side as anchor companies like Whirlpool moved out. In 1992, West Publishing, a 120-year-old St. Paul company that had grown to be the city's second largest employer, pulled up its stakes and moved its headquarters to Eagan and took 2,100 employees with it. West's departure was a dark day for the city of St. Paul. People began to question the future of the city. But with determination and a refusal to quit, we kept on fighting to not only preserve St. Paul, but to bring back its full vitality. In a true sign that St. Paul's new vitality is real, West Academic, a subsidiary of West Publishing's parent company, recently announced that after a 21-year absence, our St. Paul's prodigal son will be returning to the capital city and taking up offices in the UBS building. They're bringing initially 60 employees with an average salary of 80,000 people, and then plan to add 25 more positions in the next year alone. I'm so looking forward to West Academic coming back to St. Paul, and I'm so proud that we have come full circle. Today we're I'm standing, you're sitting, in another important symbol of the renewed St. Paul, Matsuura Machinery USA. Matsuura is an internationally renowned company with subsidiary companies across the globe. Its machines are used to produce machine parts on many types of components for a variety of manufacturing sectors, from space shuttle turbines to pacemaker components, with an annual overall revenue of $170 million. Matsuura prides itself in innovation and high-quality products. John, I understand you often say that if this was a car dealership, you'd be selling Rolls Royces. And you can see these incredible machines in this room that we're in today. But Matsuura brings more than just a great manufacturing process. It brings a tradition of working with the local community that they're in, and that has already been demonstrated. They worked very hard alongside the Port Authority to make this project a reality and to make this company, the company in St. Paul that it is today. And that hard work was led by an incredible team at the Port Authority, led by Louis Jamboy, the Port's board, and all of its staff. They not only were partners in a critical piece to this project, but they've been a critical piece to so many of our projects across the city of St. Paul, not the least of which was their critical help in making sure that the regional ballpark became a reality. And so I want to personally thank Louis, his staff, and the board members of the Port for their work. West Academic, Matsuura, Flagstone Foods, Urban Organics at the Hams Brewery, these are the new faces of jobs in the city of St. Paul. But in addition to the large companies that we talk about, new restaurants and small businesses are popping up across the city. In the past, we've celebrated restaurants like Ward 6, the Strip Club, Colossal Cafe, and more. Just a couple of months ago on West 7th Street, one of the region's best bakers quit her day job to open up one of my new favorite restaurants, the Buttered Tin. If you haven't been there, you have to go there, if you can find a seat. But the word spread so fast that trying to get a seat there on Sunday mornings is like an Olympic sport. And again, in another sign of St. Paul's renewed vitality, Cupcake, which was a struggle a couple of years ago to get to come to the city of St. Paul, is opening a new location on Selby and Snelling to take advantage of the new development that will be occurring soon on that corner. You know, as Minnesotans, I often say that we need outside validation to prove that what we see with our own eyes is true. And so I turn to one of my validators, Sinbad, who was here just a few weeks ago for the Starkey Foundation. The St. Paul paper had him videotaped and quoted him saying that, St. Paul, I used to come here often. It's grown so much, but it still has that small town feel. You can just kind of chill out. You walk around. But when he really sealed the deal for me was when he mentioned that Willie's Guitars was just off the chain. That proved to me that Sinbad is a real outside validator who knows what he's talking about when it comes to St. Paul. Good enough for Sinbad, good enough for us. While this year's budget is a no-drama budget, we know that unless we continue to rethink how we do things into the future, we'll be in a very difficult position all over again. Every year, as I've mentioned in the past, due to regular inflationary pressures, the city of St. Paul faces an $8 to $12 million budget gap. In 2014, we were facing an $11.5 million gap before the increase in local government aid. As mayors across the state of Minnesota have stated for years, absent an increase in aid, the pressures on property taxes would continue, property taxes would continue to grow, and services would continue to diminish. But with an additional partnership with the state, with additional aid, we could hold levies flat. This year, as Kathy mentioned, the legislature and the governor listened, and I'm pleased to announce that because of the support from the state, I'm going to propose a 0% increase in the levy for 2014. That's good news. And again, it's because of hard work on our part. Overall spending in the 2014 budget will increase less than 0.5%, well below the rate of inflation. But just as we took long-term approaches and long-term thinking to achieve structural balance several years ago, we must recognize that the budget continues to face the pressures it faces. And unless we comprehensively think how we will be delivering services in the future, to hold the line on the levy will be very difficult. We'll be unable to enhance or even maintain the level of services unless we think things out a different way. And we'll have the worst of all worlds, increases in taxes and decreases in service. There is a path forward, however, that prevents that. Through innovations, finding new ways to deliver services at a better price, studying best practices throughout the country, and ensuring that each one of our departments are deploying their resources using the best technologies, we can get ahead of the curve. We must do it within existing resources. We must recognize that our budgets are not going to necessarily continue to grow, but if we're smarter, we can deal with the challenges that we face ahead. At the beginning of this year's budget process, I instructed each department director to focus in on innovation. I made it clear that the increase in local government aid was not to be looked at as a windfall and not to expect that we would get more in the future. Rather, I asked them to rethink how we deliver the services. We've looked to other cities like Phoenix, Louisville, Memphis, Chicago to see how they have implemented innovations and innovation teams in their own cities. These teams work together to find ways to deliver services better and at a better price. Louisville alone has accomplished a number of efficiencies. Among them are strategies which reduce the number of low-severity 911 calls and thus unnecessary EMS runs, and the implementation of a more efficient zoning process. It's time for St. Paul to catch up. Today, I'm proud to announce the formation of our City Innovations team, which will be led by our Budget Director, Scott Cordes. Scott will put together a team to work with the city departments, stakeholders, and the community to identify areas and strategies to improve, as well as facilitate those changes. And while it's important to have an insider's perspective like Scott's, we'll bring an external innovation expert to the table to help us think outside the box. With an insider and an outsider's perspective, we'll move aggressively to find innovative solutions to the challenges we face. The innovations team will focus in on 3 key areas. The first will be to develop a citywide culture of innovation that promotes interdepartmental and community collaboration, empower city leaders to identify areas of potential change and redesign, and incentivizes and rewards innovative risk-taking. The second priority for our innovations team will be to provide support to citywide innovation projects. Pursuing innovative initiatives isn't easy. It will require a lot of time and resources to develop and implement a new strategy while continuing to keep current business practices functioning. The innovations team will provide material support to city leadership and stakeholders for selected projects through project management and analysis. Lastly, and perhaps most importantly, the innovations team will work with city and community stakeholders to identify areas of highest need for change. The reasons for change could be many, ranging from inefficiency to not meeting the community's expected level of service. This is a long-term project, not a quick fix. It will require a lot of work, a lot of partnership, a lot of collaboration. But together with this team, I'm confident that Scott will build a culture of innovation throughout the city that will serve us well for years to come. Let us wish Scott good luck in this endeavor. This year we start with innovations big and small. These efforts include our work to reduce long-term energy costs by investing in energy-efficient technology and lighting. In the past several years, we've implemented 56 energy projects throughout the city of St. Paul, saving the city $402,000 annually. And we're going to continue that work in 2014, investing $200,000 to replace streetlights with energy-efficient light bulbs. This investment will pay for itself in 3 to 5 years and last many years longer than their current incandescent bulbs that we use. Several years ago, we made a decision, a tough one, to invest in updating and upgrading our technology in a way that would help us streamline current processes, but also make future progress more efficient. One example of that would be creating a user-friendly permitting process that building owners, homeowners, and others seeking a permit can utilize online. By 2014, many of the current efforts will be completed or underway. One example is that prior to 2013, our city employees' payroll paperwork was touched by 7 different sets of hands during its processing. This year, we began implementing a centralized digital payroll system, a move that brings St. Paul into the 21st century and will save us $360,000 in 2014 alone, and eventually more than $450,000 a year. That's tough. And there's been a lot of people that have pushed very hard to make this happen. But when you look at those savings, you know how important it is. It is the only path forward. We're working within our purchasing department to make strategic changes in how we purchase projects. Our HREEO Director, Jesse Kingston, has already identified ways that she can reduce our office supply costs by 23%. Within 3 to 5 years, these new strategies will save St. Paul $1 million annually. Being innovative also means asking how to dramatically broaden our service delivery with a minimal investment. One example of this is in the libraries, where we'll invest $70,000 to develop a mobile delivery service. This new plan will create opportunities for residents to utilize library services at non-library buildings or outside closed libraries. And I mean temporarily closed, like at night and on weekends. Don't worry, I'm not closing libraries in this budget. This will dramatically expand access to St. Paul library materials during times when these sorts of items would have been previously unavailable. But perhaps where we're seeing the most extensive innovations this year will be in our police department. Over the last 7.5 years, we have added 34 officers to the department. We've invested and taken advantage of numerous grants to utilize new technologies, which aid our force in solving crimes and make the streets safer for our residents and visitors. And last year, we saw a deficiency in the crime lab, and we invested $610,000 in ongoing resources to the department's budget to address those needs. As part of the accreditation process of that lab, we invested another $413,000 to build out equipment and purchase necessary tools. With all these strategies through rapidly changing times, our police work must continue to evolve with the needs of our community, and our investments have reflected that. However, given that the police department represents our largest budget in the general fund, it has to lead the way in innovations and doing things differently. I asked the chief to look at innovations and how to fund new things through his current and existing budget, and he has responded with his team and really risen to the occasion. I'm extremely pleased with Chief Smith's work. He's requested that he be allowed to apply for federal grants that will allow him to hire 5 more additional officers. While the initial costs of those officers are covered by federal government for the first 3 years, after that, the costs shift to the city. It's imperative that those costs do not add to future budget problems, and that we find those funds to pay for those officers within existing department resources, and the chief has pledged to do just that. Another critical need the chief has identified is for crime analysts. This year, the police department welcomed a student intern from Metropolitan State University named Cody Larson. Cody, stand up. Cody's working on a criminal analyst certification, but he came into the department as an intern and began to analyze robberies being investigated by separate units. And he saw a pattern and was able to link numerous robberies that were being investigated as separate occurrences together, uncovering a string of connected crimes. He did this on more than one occasion. Without the analysis done by Cody, the dots may have gone unnoticed and the crimes unsolved. If one person is able to find these patterns, just imagine what we'll be able to achieve with 2 full-time, seasoned crime analysts. I get ahead of myself sometimes. Think about that. Cody was able to help our officers solve crimes by just doing the analysis. With 2 additional officers, we will be able to do so much more and give our officers the support they need, the support that they have needed for a long time. But we're going to do this within existing resources, not adding additional cost to the budget, but doing the work that we do smarter and more productively. The chief also identified the need to more efficiently utilize the technology within the department. In 2014, the police department will bring in a technology consultant to create a technology plan. Creating a strategic technology plan in the police department isn't just about data, it's about the cops on the street. As we utilize our resources more efficiently and streamline these processes, sworn officers who currently work behind a desk, taking down and responding to police reports made over the phone, will now be able to fulfill their duties on the streets of St. Paul as those jobs are better utilized. These changes are being done, again, within existing budgets of the police department because of the innovative thinking that the chief and his team have brought. I want to give Chief Smith credit and thanks for his work on making sure that we're doing better, being smarter, and doing it more cost effectively. Notice to all other department directors, I expect you to follow Tom's lead on these innovations. You know, I'm really proud of the work that the police department has done. Statistically, St. Paul continues to be one of the safest cities in America, safest cities of its size. But those statistics don't mean anything if you're witnessing a fight on the street or if a loved one is injured. In recent weeks, we've seen several disturbing incidents on the East Side that have made it clear that we must continue to push forward to find new ways and new strategies to meet challenges on the street. We've done a great deal, and we've had a lot of success. Last summer was one of our quietest summers in many, many years. This summer has heated up. And so we have proactively, even before these incidents, taken many steps to try to continue to deal with these challenges. We expanded our hours and staff at the Wilder Recreation Center. We continued this summer, a second summer of our intelligence-led community policing, community prosecution, and community partnerships program, IL3CP, and have made significant investments in things on the East Side to improve the quality of life, such as Habitat Houses, Kendall's Hardware, the new Payne, Maryland Community Center, Beacon Bluff that the Port Authority is developing, the Hams Brewery. But these actions have to address these long-term challenges that we face. But we have to have an immediate increase in our police presence on the East Side to deal with these incidents of too many gangs and too many youth running around the street causing trouble across the East Side. And we are together with County Attorney John Choi, City Attorney Sarah Gruing, with our community partners, the Ramsey County Probation, and everyone that can lend a hand. We are going to face the challenge that we're seeing on the East Side, and we're going to address these problems. And I want to thank all of you. One of the ways that we continue to invest in the vitality of the City of St. Paul is the community, the capital improvement budget, the CIB budget. This fall, previous decisions will begin to pay huge dividends, like the Payne, Maryland project, the library, and the community center on the East Side. Opening in 2014, the Payne, Maryland project will bring together people from across St. Paul, creating not just a top-of-the-line learning center, but also a place where neighborhood children have access to a fitness center and recreational program. This has been a long-term dream and a vision of Councilmember Dan Bostrom, and we are finally, Dan, going to see that project actually open its doors. We'll continue along these paths with investments across the city, such as at Fire Station 19. First of all, I want to thank our newly reappointed Chief, for your leadership in the department. Your reappointment kind of went out with a whimper. There was hardly a word of it, but we are so proud to have you leading our department for the next 6 years. Congratulations. Presently at Station 19, there's only one person, a four-person crew that responds with either an ambulance or a fire engine. Whenever they respond, the station gets emptied out and it leaves a service gap. The CIB's committee number one recommendation was to fund the Fire Station 19 expansion. Agreeing with them, I proposed providing $2 million to expand the Fire Station 19, which will bring in another ladder truck to that location and improve fire and paramedic response times throughout the city. With the second crew added to Station 19, when a crew goes out with the engine 19, there is another crew available to fight a fire. When a crew goes out on Medic 19, the second crew will be available to be a first responder for medic calls. It's a good example of where a small investment can make a huge difference in the delivery of services, and I am very happy to support the recommendations of the CIB committee. Another important investment is on the city's west side at El Rio Vista Fields, also known as the Gilbert De La O Fields, a place where children spend much of their year playing and competing. Residents of the west side have long fought for new fields, for better fields for El Rio Vista. And led by the West Side Boosters president, Rick Hernandez, they have been very vocal and very adamant in their demand for new fields at El Rio Vista. Well, Rick, we listened, the CIB committee listened, and I am pleased to say that the renovation of El Rio Vista will be a huge priority in 2014 for the City of St. Paul. I want to thank Councilmember Thune also, for whom this has been a huge priority. We'll invest $1.5 million to develop a multi-purpose soccer and football field, as well as renovate the smaller field. We had 200 people show up in support of this project at the public hearings. But they also said, in addition to the fields at El Rio, they wanted the park across the street, Parque Castillo play area, to be improved. A lot of the younger kids whose brothers or sisters are playing at the fields go across the street to play at Parque Castillo while their siblings are playing or competing. So next year, in addition to the investment at El Rio, we'll invest $650,000 to replace the play area, add a splash pad, and make other improvements at Parque Castillo. This will be a huge boost to an important neighborhood on the city's west side. Sometimes in the CIB process, we address long-term needs and needs that have been identified for many years. Other times, problems arise that require quick action and creative solutions. One example of this was the deteriorated sidewalks in the Highland neighborhood, particularly along Cleveland and Ford Parkway. A couple of months ago, Councilmember Tolbert dragged me, we went out together and walked the neighborhood and talked to the business owners along the corridor. The sidewalks had become deteriorated and, quite frankly, unsafe and unsightly. Planters were crumbling, and the strong, vibrant business community was being overshadowed by what looked like neglect on the part of the city. In 2014, I proposed an additional $1 million to replace the aging sidewalks, boulevard trees, and planters in Highland Park. More importantly than the city's investment is what it leverages, which is an additional $2 million in private investment to further strengthen the partnership between our businesses and our city, and making sure that Highland gets the attention it deserves and they often complain about. Thank you for your leadership. Another example of a problem that has arisen recently is that of emerald ash borer. We're at the very early stages of what is going to be a very long-term problem with very significant impacts to the city of St. Paul. It will change the landscape of our city for generations. My proposed budget includes an increase in the right-of-way that will begin to help us address this problem. But in the coming months, we'll go up to the Capitol and ask for support from statewide resources, because this is a statewide challenge that we will all face. An additional small increase in the right-of-way will allow us to match dollars from the county, state, and federal government to tackle some much-needed transportation projects along Raymond Avenue, the Warner Road Bridge, Ford Parkway, Randolph Avenue, and on Western Avenue. Another area that we will be making some changes in is the area of recycling. This is not just leftover lunch on the table. It's an example of how we're going to change recycling in the city of St. Paul. The city was one of the first in the country to take the kind of recycling program that we undertook 25 years ago. But it's been a long time since we've done an evaluation of the program, and much has changed since then. Last year, we committed to going through a process that would help us understand what is needed and how we can deliver it. With the help of Ramsey County, we commissioned a study by Wilder Research to evaluate our 25-year-old program and determine what's working and what isn't. Wilder used a mail survey, held 6 focus groups, and numerous stakeholder interviews. We received thousands of responses. So many, in fact, that Wilder is now joking they're going to insert a recycling question in every survey that they do just to make sure they boost their responses. The research was comprehensive, touching every ward, age group, many different nationalities, homeowners and apartment dwellers, single-family and multifamily housing. Overwhelmingly, 90% of respondents said that they wanted to see expanded plastics recycling. In fact, 40%, far more than any other desire concerning recycling, said that recycling more plastics was their top concern. The second most pressing concern was to move to single-sort recycling. These 2 items were so important, in fact, that 2/3 of the respondents said they were willing to pay more for the expanded service. Currently, residents can only recycle plastics 1 and 2, pop bottles and milk jugs, and those types of items. I'm recommending that we expand our plastics recycling to numbers 4, 5, and 7, including items like squeezable bottles, yogurt containers, and the clamshells that you see holding strawberries and other berries. And we'll also move to a single-sort recycling system in 2014. Beyond 2014, we'll transition to larger covered wheeled carts and move pickup of recycling materials from front yard to the alley. We'll also work towards a system that allows for curbside or alley pickup of organic material. A major part of this effort will be an education initiative, targeting residents who pay for the service but don't recycle. One of the most concerning results of our research was that most St. Paul residents do recycle, but they don't recycle everything that they are able, because they weren't aware that the materials were in fact recyclable. So in the coming months, we'll roll out an education initiative designed to encourage more people to participate in the recycling program and get all accepted recyclable materials out of the trash cans. With this program beginning, I'm asking all St. Paul to recommit to recycling. My goal is to get to 60% diversion by 2030, and I think that we can achieve that goal. I want to thank Councilmembers Stark and Brenmo and Tolbert for their work on this initiative and their insistence that we move forward on a new way of recycling in the city of St. Paul. They've been working with city staff for months to look at the best proposals and to respond to residents' concerns and desires. Thank you again for all of your efforts. When I came into the office as mayor over 7 years ago, I didn't expect to find the challenges that we have faced with the economy in one of the worst recessions since the Great Depression. But we faced them. We addressed them. We dealt with the challenges that were handed us. The environment, the economic situation hasn't always been kind, but we have continued to thrive and we've continued to move forward. In spite of all the challenges that we faced, there is a vitality in the city of St. Paul that we haven't witnessed in many, many years. It's taking place before one passenger rides the light rail line, before one bag of groceries is sold at Lund's, before one pitch is thrown at the Lower Town Ballpark. This is happening because of the commitment of everyone in the city to a revitalized and wonderful city of St. Paul. Imagine the things that we're seeing that are changing already. And imagine when those projects are complete and they take their place along the great things that have already been completed, like the renovation of the depot. Imagine the Jazz Festival that attracts not only new people from across the country to come to it, but new residents that will be living in downtown St. Paul. Imagine how exciting it will be when the 40,000 plus people that were in St. Paul for the Northern Sparks Festival now come for a Stanley Cup parade down Wabasha Avenue. Imagine layering all that upon a city that has closed the achievement gap, that it has closed the disparities between white communities and communities of color, and a city that has done all this on a sound financial footing. It's not hard to imagine because it's happening. That's the work that we've done together. That's our trajectory. That's a city with an honest budget that, in Twain's words, is put together in solid blocks of honest brick and stone. We now have an honest budgeting process. We have a great community, much to build on, and much to look forward to. Thank you all for being a part of it.